jumping center was the man who was the mainstay of the Puerto Rican national team, Ramon Ramos. The other three fellas, as you might expect, are out of the New York area. Brooklyn, the Bronx, and New York City. And Green will pick up Snyder. Leitner drops in for Ferry off his hand, picked up by Seton Hall. The toughest 10 feet in college basketball, maybe trying to score against this Seton Hall defense. Ramon Ramos on the turnaround. Ferry off the glass, gets it into Snyder. Quick pass to Leitner, who couldn't get the handle. Now let's turn back the clock to a year ago. It was 14-0 Kansas in the first 6 minutes of that game before Duke could even get on the board. This is off of Gaze's hands. And it goes over.
We talked about keys in this game, jitterbug, and it looks like both clubs are a little jittery starting early on, but trying to go down inside to Danny Ferry. Figured he's got a little bit too much size on Walker. We'll see.
A half-court game that you might expect from these two all game long. Very tough defensively. Snyder looking for the entry pass, and again it goes over.
Walker doing a great job man-to-man defensing on Danny Ferry. He's fronting him. They're trying to lob over the top. Walker's forearms strong enough to hold Ferry out.
So Duke turns it over 3 times in the early moments. Here is Morton short on the iron. Henderson, number 3, yanking it away for the Blue Devils. Bricky can explode, comes to the paint and draws free and gets it back. And it will not fall. This is shades of Kansas City for the Blue Devils. Nothing will drop, just as it did not against the Jayhawks. Now it's Gaze, a 3-point whiz, and he rims out. Leitner with the ball.
Gaze is going to have some trouble with Bricky in regard to quickness. Bricky went by him rather easily that last time down the floor.
Through Ferry. Back to Snyder. They work it with Bricky. And if there's any weakness, it's from the perimeter. And Henderson was fouled by Morton as he rose for that shot. Let me give you the officials. Big-time crew, as you might expect for this national semifinal. Larry Limbo of Farmingdale, New York. Don Rutledge of Windermere, Florida. And Ed Hightower of Alton, Illinois. Tim Higgins is across the way. Ramsey, New Jersey. He's the alternate. You're looking at P.J. Carlissimo, the first coach in a Final Four game to wear a beard. I shouldn't say where. Folks, that's real.
Well, they came out here to shoot early on, and there were some fans who'll have to know there are some balls that did go through the net. We haven't seen one yet, but believe me, in the warm-ups, there were a few that went through.
I saw Glenn Rice hit some in practice yesterday from Michigan. And finally on the scoreboard.
Duke picks up full court man-to-man. You know how Ferry likes to help double team.
So we went almost 2 minutes without a point. Walker on the drive, and it's an offensive foul.
Yeah, both teams are executing their offenses very well, but when you don't get the ball to go in the hole, it makes it look like you're not doing much on that end of the floor. Now we see Seton Hall picking up full court man-to-man.
Leitner back to help out. Ferry, an excellent ball handling big man. Henderson up to Snyder, who's over here on the wing. So Bricky on top. Ferry off the dribble.
Danny Ferry on a great leaner. Very difficult to defend that shot because he puts that barrel chest right into you.
Seton Hall last played Duke in 1970. They are 0-3. Lifetime Henderson with a great block, trying to get a breakaway. Bricky, and he is fouled, and they both go down hard. Green and Bricky are down, and it was an awkward fall.
Bricky's legs were tied into Green, and he couldn't get his legs loose, so therefore all the weight of this fall goes onto his backside. Now watch, he could not free up his leg, and everything hit down on his backside. Only athletes that are in great physical condition can withstand a fall like this.
Foul is charged to number 15, Terrell Green.
Looks like he's going to be all right.
Speaking of falls, Ramon Ramos in the first couple of rounds down in Tucson for Seton Hall took 2 nasty falls, and it's believed by PJ and some of his assistants that he was not in real good physical condition last week in Denver.
And that was a good hustle play by Green. Nice piece of sportsmanship as he slaps Bricky on the hand. And also, I think, a nice piece of sportsmanship by Mike Krzyzewski. He could have put in another free throw shooter. In this case, Bricky stays in the game, the weakest free throw shooter on the club.
Billy, you know, we talked about last year's national semifinal. You can lose one of these games in the early going if you're not careful. Certainly Kansas put away Duke, and now it is Seton Hall looking to get on the board, and they lose it again on a turnover.
Leitner again with those great hands.
Great defense. Ferry open from three. It will not fall, but an offensive rebound. Henderson, a putback misses, and Walker left all alone.
Not a very smart shot by Henderson there. He had no one under. When you get an offensive rebound, unless it's a good, easy putback, you're better off bringing it back out.
Gaze does a lot of those little things that help you win. Great drive, trying to get the layup that time, and he drew the blocking foul from Leitner, his first.
You know, Brent, some fellas, and you see this a lot with international players, might not have that same type of quickness we see here in the country. You see Smith coming in for Bricky, and Bricky hurting a great deal out there. Looks like he got hit in the thigh this time, not the same injury as he just fell. But Gaze is just one of those fellas that knows how to score. He's got the great outside shot. He can take it inside and get it off. Very seldom gets his shot blocked.
Really, they are looking at Bricky with the trainer and a doctor and discussing it over there. He may have tried it after that nasty fall and be more seriously shaken up than we were led to believe when he stayed in the game.
I think, Brent, that he got hit on this particular play by Gaze's knee in the thigh, because they're looking at his right thigh, and I really don't believe it's the same injury. You can see where that ice pack is on the thigh. Gaze, good free throw shooter. Solid fundamentally.
So Gaze puts Seton Hall on the board at the 16:49 mark. 5-2, Duke leads it.
With Bricky out of there, it helps Seton Hall's matchup. Smith not as quick as Bricky, so Gaze has a better matchup.
And the foul going against Seton Hall, and for Morton, that is his second one. This is the injury, Billy, that you spoke about.
See if he doesn't hit him knee on thigh on this play. Never did see it. Never did see it.
He is in some obvious pain over there. He had buried his head in the towel on the bench when he first sat down. So we'll get a check on Bricky's condition. Meanwhile, Smith is off of Krzyzewski's bench. He'll wear number 33. Crossed to Snyder. Played high school ball right here in the Seattle area. Mercer Island was a two-time Washington State Player of the Year. They punched a Ferry off a fake great pass and a foul on Gaze from behind Leitner.
Now, we talked about Christian Leitner at the top of the show. An outstanding freshman player, destined to be a great one at Duke University. Played Alonzo Mourning right to a standstill. There's a good bounce pass into Danny Ferry. We talked about his great overall ability. There's seeing on the inside with a pass. But one of the things that Leitner does as well as any big man you'll see is catch the ball in traffic.
Really, that is 5 early fouls by Seton Hall and only 1 by Duke. So that first point of yours, jitters here today, may be affecting this Seton Hall team.
Leitner at the foul line this year over 100 times, shooting right under 74%. Nice follow through.
Duke leads it by 4, and they exert pressure on the ball. Snyder up on Green, who keeps on coming, and he is fouled by Danny Ferry. Ferry's first.
Now, Brent, we've seen Ferry employ this same defensive tactic in other ball games, and that's where he helps out Snyder on that press. Walker is going to have to get down court, take Ferry out of position there so he can't double team.
So far, it's been an ugly game from a shooting standpoint, and a blocking foul against Duke. That's Snyder's first. From the field, these two teams are a combined 1 for 10. Seton Hall still looking for its first field goal in 4 attempts.
Okay, I'll call it.
Cooper in the ball game, maybe to get one of those fellas off the bench, gives Seton Hall the offensive lift.
There's their first field goal. Green
Basketball number 15,
on the left
Gerald
corner.
Green.
Ramos with a hand on it. Leitner got it back. Leitner at the end line stays with it, and he was fouled.
They're calling this game very, very tight on the early on. PJ up off that bench wanting to talk about it. Again, those great hands by Leitner down inside with traffic.
25, Ramos.
Well, we know we'll have a new champion. All four teams here this afternoon searching for their first NCAA championship. Duke has been here now 3 times in the last 4 years. For Leitner, who's at the line, this is his first.
And Brent, by a wide margin, Duke University has been to the Final Four without winning the championship more than any other team in college basketball history. Look behind us, and I saw Guy Lewis, who had 3 trips and never was able to come away. But Duke, as a team, has had 3 different coaches that have been here, but never won the big one.
Lewis was the coach of Houston. Henderson wants Leitner inside. Good interior defense by Seton Hall. They're making it very tough. Ramos drawing Ferry in this set defensively, and Henderson on the drive traveled. That's the 4th turnover by the Blue Devils.
Henderson has been a key in this drive to get to the Final Four for Duke University with his big scoring, taking that burden off of Danny Ferry.
Looks like a game in which those little things are going to decide it, doesn't it? There's Cooper, who checked in. That bench, which did a spectacular job in Denver, got away from Cooper. Henderson going for it, and the foul is going to be against Michael Cooper.
One of the things Seton Hall has got to get back to, and that is getting Ramos down inside low so that he can use that power with those good pump fakes. So far in this game, he has not touched it down in the low post.
Ala Abdelnaby checks in for Duke, and Leitner sits down. So they will go with a little more experience, giving Leitner his first break at the 15-20 mark. Leitner may have surprised Georgetown last Sunday, but after reviewing the tapes, there will be no surprise for Seton Hall. They know how much talent he possesses.
Well, he worked his way into the starting lineup early for a team that was projected to be #1 in the nation. One of the highest recruited big men in the country last year. In a year, and talking to Digger Phelps yesterday, he thinks is the greatest group of freshman players ever in college basketball history, particularly the big men, and Leitner's one of them.
.20 to go first half. 9-4, Duke leading Seton Hall in our first Final Four game here today. Illinois and Michigan in #2.
It's Ramos trying to take Abdelnaby down in tight.
Blocking foul goes against Abdelnaby. That's the 4th team foul. So they still have a couple to give before Seton Hall will be shooting 1-1. And Kubek will check in off the Duke bench. Number 22, Greg Kubek.
Replacing Phil Henderson.
Brent, so far Green has appeared to me to have a quicker step than anybody that Duke's been trying to guard him with, and therefore he's been able to get some advantages for his club. Once they establish position, the officials want them just to hold their ground in there.
Loosen up that tango line a little bit there, fellas. This is Green, who Billy was just telling you about with that quick first step. It was a very important coaching move by PJ to let him run the team, and a push against Snyder, and it continues to be whistled very tightly here. That's the 15th foul. 2 on Snyder, who fouled out with 5 minutes to go against the Hoyas last Sunday. And Danny Ferry spent some time in the backcourt as a result. And they need their team leader here today. 9-4 they lead. We'll be right back. And we will get a report from James Brown, who is covering the floor here, about his condition. Green gets in, and it is blocked by Abdelnaby.
Good penetration, though, by Green that time. Good weak side help by Abdelnaby, one thing that Duke does very well.
Ferry tried to force the pass. I mean, it is tough on the inside against this Seton Hall team. Ramos will hold his ground down in there.
That was a sensational mental play by Ramos as he anticipated the pass.
Now Walker comes up, misfires. Kubek rebounds.
No offensive rebounds for Seton Hall. The reason for that is that Ramos is playing out on the perimeter a lot.
Now it is Ferry, and that time he gets it to fall. So the Blue Devils are 2 for 9, and Seton Hall 1 for 6.
Wide open is Walker.
And Abdul Nabi, trying to hold his ground, committed the 6th team foul for the Blue Devils. Now, James Brown, what's the situation with Bricky?
All right, Brent, I followed Robert Bricky to the locker room, and the problem with him is that he's got a deep bruise on that right thigh. Every time he tries to push off, Brent, he's experiencing some pain. They've applied ice to it. He's in the locker room. They're going to leave the decision up to him. Non-verbal communication between him and the trainer. Bricky is saying, I can't go right now. Let's go back to Brent.
And Christian Leitner can go, so he has returned. And Billy, I think we're going to have to go back to that nasty collision down here underneath the basket as the start of Bricky's problems. And Anthony Avent now, a young man whom you really like on this Seton Hall team.
I like him.
Checked in.
I like him. He played extremely well. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons with those subs that have come off the bench to do so well for PJ in the regional finals, Avent extremely strong. With he and Cooper and Walker down there, they won't give up anything.
They could use some rebounding help from Avent. Duke out rebounding Seton Hall by that margin here in the early going. Walker trying to deny Ferry the ball. Ferry taller than Walker. Off Henderson, and Ferry was the right man in the right spot, wasn't he?
He's looking to dump down inside, still is.
Henderson.
Great defense by both clubs. They're just taking away all the normal passing lanes and shots that you get.
Henderson, short. So at the Kingdome in Seattle, it is game 1 of our national semifinal here this afternoon, and this one is a struggle. Neither team shooting well. With Billy Packer, I'm Brent Musburger. It's 11-6, Duke over Seton Hall. Illinois and Michigan to play the second one.
Set play, trying to get a solid screen for Gaze to get off his jumper.
Avent missing. Pulled away by Leitner.
Oh, Duke's had the break a couple of times. Good pass inside, tough hands.
Another turnover. And he turned it over on the dribble.
You know, Brent, sometimes statistics in sports lie, but in this particular case, the fact that both of these teams have defensively shut other people down in this tournament is something we're seeing today. The defense is controlling the offense. There has not been an easy shot on either end of the floor. Ferry's skill level may be the thing that could be the difference.
Draws a bead that time, Billy, giving him 6 points.
Without Ramos, no down inside game. Something Seton Hall really needs to get off the snide here.
Here's Green. Leitner wrestling it away. Kubek on the drive for Duke.
Smart play, no place to go. You get a sense Ferry's ready to explode offensively. Great block.
Avent coming up on it.
Weak side help again, just like Abdul Nabi's block came all the way across the lane.
Time remaining first half. And they have turned it over for the 6th time. Let's take a look at this block.
Right.
Avent running over from the weak side, able to get up and deflect it away.
There was a good fronting defense on Ferry, so the lob was available, but then there was weak side help coming over from Gaze, and then Avent all the way across the lane.
And France Volsi, number 30. You just got a glimpse of him. He checks in for PJ Carlissimo, trying to find the combination. Henderson gets it to fall, and Duke pulling away in the early going. It is 15-6, 11:50.
Looking for Gaze for a three-point shot coming up.
Gaze off the dribble, still won't fall, and Leitner away with it. Snyder quickly with a lead pass up here. Davis back to Ferry off a beautiful fake.
Well, Brent, what's so tough in guarding Danny Ferry at 6'10"? PJ's got to be thinking timeout here shortly. He's going to take one now. Is the fact that Ferry can shoot the perimeter shot or go for the short range.
It's an 11-2 run for Duke over the last 4.5 minutes. The Duke locker room, and Mike Krzyzewski's team leading 17-6. Volsi underneath with the easiest bucket Seton Hall's had so far. Seton Hall only 2 for 11 from the field. Duke 5 for 13.
Good inside screening by Leitner and Ferry, trying to get something going down low.
Ramos with a hand on the ball, knocking it out of bounds. Ramos doesn't have the height of an NBA prospect, but I'll tell you, what great bulk and the way he uses it. 255 pounds. He's an accounting major at Seton Hall. Very intelligent young man, a delight to talk to. Here is Ferry coming up with a jump shot over the top, using the glass, and he has now scored 10 points here in the first half. What you'd expect of the All-American.
Ramos with good position. They're just not getting the ball down in low to Ramos. They've got to get him in the offensive action.
Here is Morton looking for a seam, anything to get it on the inside. Ramos muscling his way in, and they have turned it over on a 3-second violation.
Smith returns to the lineup, replacing Brian Davis.
Smith returning, and Brian Davis sits down for the Blue Devils.
But the key problem right now for P.J. Carlesimo is to establish that inside attack with Ramos. He's coming off a game against UNLV where he did not play well, and they've got to get him in the offense early on before too many minutes go by.
Dropping it in on the inside, and there was a holding call going against Seton Hall, and that is the first on Volsey.
You can see what the strategy defensively is by P.J. Carlesimo. Front Danny Ferry down and low and get weak side help. That time they got caught.
Billy, we get word from the Duke bench that Bricky did suffer the injury going in underneath the basket in that collision when he was off balance and fell. However, when he came down here, he was hit and it aggravated.
I got you. Well, he's wincing over there. I watched him when he came out. I mean, it doesn't look like he's ready to go back in, do any high flying.
Ferry off to a solid start. It's a 21-8 lead. Ramos drops it into Volsey, and Leitner was there defensively. Gaze can't come away with anything. The battle continues underneath.
Oh, good hands.
And here comes Snyder in the middle. Giving it back to Henderson. And a follow by the Blue Devils.
And Brent, what made that play was Christian Leitner went to the floor at 6'10", and with those incredible soft hands of his, was able to get it out of the pack. Sensational play.
Both teams started slowly, but the Blue Devils found their game quicker. Now it's Gaze, and he continues to struggle. Smith hands to Leitner.
Gaze will normally hit that shot. Duke switched on that play, let him wide open from 3. See a double low now by Duke University. Ferry wanted that ball. He had Volsey right on his hip.
Leitner steps out. Ramos there with him. Cross to Smith with good outside range for a big man. He buries the 3.
Percentage-wise, the best three-point shooter on the team, a guy who never even took three-point shots before this year.
P.J. Carlesimo will use another timeout. He's down 26-8. Well, everything has gone Duke's way except the injury suffered by Bricky. Seton Hall just can't buy a hoop. 2 of 14, trailing 26-8. Time remaining here in the first half. And Ferry off to a solid start here. They punch it in low to Ramos, and he continues to miss. Comes back with an offensive rebound, score it, and we're going to put Ramos on the free throw line.
Brent, the key to their game, getting Ramos down in low. He's got that big, strong body. He comes up very well even on missed shots as he did there because of his good hands. See the play down inside. He misses the first, but watch how well he bounces to get that second one. Powerful hands inside, goes right back up, puts it in, has a chance for three-point play here.
We had a picture of Leitner returning because that was the 3rd foul picked up by Abdelnaby. So Abdelnaby seated on Coach K's bench right now. Ramos nails the three-pointer down, and it's a
good press, nobody open.
The press there, and they force the turnover. Walker brings his jump shot down.
They're not guarding the man throwing the ball in bounds, and that's why there was an extra defender.
The lead is 13. 5 quick points by the Hall. Looking for Leitner in deep, knocked away and out of bounds.
Here's the press. Nobody guarding Danny Ferry, who's throwing the ball in bounds. So there you have a safety man, who was Walker, normally would be Ferry's man. Obviously open there to play a little center field, make the interception.
Duke leads it, but it has not been easy on the inside here so far. And that time, they were a little too tough defensively. And for Walker, his second personal foul. Gay's playing with 1, Ramos with 1, Morton picked up 2 quick ones, Green with 1, Volsey and Cooper 1 apiece. So DJ Carlissimo having some difficulty here with fouls, and that could mount up to big trouble in the second half.
Unfortunately for PJ, he is very deep at that position in terms of size. Same way in the case of Mike Krzyzewski on the other end. Abdul Nabi sitting down with 3, but he's got some depth there.
PJ is one of 10 children, Billy. And I said, how many brothers and sisters are today, PJ? He said, hey, Brent, it's 6 and counting. I'm not sure how many are going to be in the stand. Green bringing it down on the inside against the taller Blue Devils. But Walker, a great offensive rebounder, could not put it away. Anderson across midcourt against that Pirate pressure. It's 27-13.
Boy, Duke really looking to pound that thing down inside with these overplays in the low post.
Leitner will send it back to Snyder. Snyder tries to set up his taller teammates. They force another turnover. Here comes Green. Gaze is on his right. He'll pull up with a jump shot. And now Seton Hall starting to loosen up.
What Danny Ferry is going to realize is that the weak side defense is going to eliminate that pass he's trying to throw, but he will be able to throw outside for a jumper.
No, that could be Morton's 3rd personal foul, and it is. That is a big one.
Brent, hard to believe. Morton against UNLV, and of course, an outstanding score, only had 6 points. In the case of Ramos, he did not score against UNLV, and if you had said that before the Western Regional Final, you say no way Seton Hall wins the game. But in this particular game, they're not getting production out of Morton or Ramos again. Cooper in there.
Billy, if we think back to last Sunday when Georgetown scrambled back in that short period, it was that helter-skelter defense, that full-court pressure with Snyder now sitting down also, and Morton out because of 3 fouls. But you remember how the helter-skelter got the Hoyas back? The Blue Devils had some difficulty with it. So if Seton Hall is to get back in this one before the intermission, they've got 7 minutes. It's 28-15. They will need some turnovers.
Well, the way you get them is you got to score in the offensive end so you can set up your press. That's been their problem so far. They
Cooper wasn't even looking, but Gaze comes over and gets the errant pass.
Good pass.
And it's Walker coming up on Leitner, who is there, and the foul is against Leitner, his 2nd.
Looked like a pretty good defensive play by Leitner. Had his hands straight up in the air. Mike Krzyzewski complaining about it a little bit as well. That defender does have that position he can establish.
For Seton Hall, number 52, Nick Katsikas.
Well, at the conclusion of this Final Four game, we'll select the Chevrolet Player of the Game, and in conjunction with the award, Chevrolet will donate $1,000 to both Seton Hall and Duke.
Brent Katsikas in the game now. PJ looking to see before this half ends if he can find somebody can drill one from the perimeter.
It's number 52 right there.
Seton Hall, an excellent free throw shooting team, a little over 75%. He's going to give up something on a defensive end, though, with Katsikas.
And they are perfect today, 7 of 7 against the Blue Devils.
Oh, Danny Ferry almost turned it over, looking to pass to Smith, who turned his head. Again, the double low stack by Duke.
Ramos half fronting Leitner on the inside. They couldn't punch it in. Ferry, who moves his game all around the perimeter, takes it down on the blocks, comes up with the jump shot, and buries it. He scored 17 points here in the first half. Duke leading at 31-17. So just when it appeared like the Hall might pull back into it, Duke extends its lead, and Gaze continues to miss outside. He is now 0 for 5 from the game.
And Leitner again with another strong rebound.
They turn it over on a sloppy pass.
But what really happened there too is that Walker was playing such great defense on Ferry. Ferry couldn't get in position to make the catch.
For Seton Hall, number 32.
Walker is slim from the waist down, but he's got a good upper body, and it must have a lot more strength, and he must be very wiry there because he moved Danny Ferry on that play.
Avent replaced Ramos. Green comes down on the inside, and he scored 6.
Nobody's handled Green yet with his speed.
Here's Leitner. Chance for a three-pointer. The young man who plays with a great deal of enthusiasm and emotion.
You're going to see just great play here now. Avent gets caught up too high. Leitner gives the perfect target by holding that hand up high above his head. The pass right on the money. Very difficult to stop. Did we say, is Leitner for real at one of our tips before the game? We're going to put an exclamation point on that one?
Alonzo Mourning would say he's for real.
Alonzo's a fan. Quinn Snyder back in there now, but not on Green. He's got a better assignment with Gaze, not quite as quick.
Walker gets Ferry in the air, and he has scored 8. Well, they're going to need some points from Andrew Gaze. Still looking to get here in the scoring column for Seton Hall in the first half. Kubek trying to get around Gaze, now pulls up the jump shot, knocked away from Konsekas. Henderson up over the back with his first personal foul, and we're in the 1-and-1, so Seton Hall will come down here and shoot a couple of free throws against Krzyzewski.
Brent, you know, we talked about Mike Krzyzewski being to the Final Four 3 times. Here's that Michigan. Here's your band.
My guys have arrived.
They're going to send you a Christmas present, Brent. You're the guy that got him here. Way off the iron. But we talked about Mike Krzyzewski before bringing a team to the Final Four. You know, Bill Foster brought Duke to the Final Four, and then Vic Bubas on 3 occasions with great clubs came to the Final Four.
Henderson loses it and gets it back.
Henderson's got Gaze on him. I believe he can beat him one-on-one.
Kubek lost the handle. Green's got it. And quickly Henderson is there, and he lets Green go for his 4th hoop of the first half.
Seems that every time they get in trouble, it gets in Ferry's hands.
Such a great passer for a big man. Always finds the open teammate. Snyder glides in, missing, and there was Ferry on the other side of the glass, but it is Snyder who gets it back. Throws it up.
Wow, on that play.
Snyder on the floor. It's Seton Hall's ball. So he paid a price for going in there.
He sure did. He threw that up and got fouled and laid on the floor. No call.
Smith returning.
33, John Smith. Replaces Greg Kubek.
And Ramos back on the floor for Carlesimo.
Big basket right here for Seton Hall, Brent. Get that thing down inside 10 points. Be a good comeback on their part.
Walker staying with it, and he is fouled. And now that's Leitner's 3rd personal foul. Abdel Nabi with 3rd. So there are some of those numbers starting to mount up against Duke, which would indicate that this one is a long way from over when the big fellas down on the inside get into foul trouble. 34-23 is not much of a lead.
Brent, you know something else that's very apparent? With Bricky out of the lineup, Duke does not have another finisher on the offensive end to score. And it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing him, certainly not in the rest of this half. He still has that ice pack on. Duke has not been able to get that other guy to help Danny Ferry score any points.
When you've got senior leadership like Seton Hall has, and you can shoot free throws as well as they do, and you play half-court defense, that gives you a great opportunity to come back. And they have not missed a free throw here yet today. Now they go to that pressure against Duke, and they quickly call it off as Snyder brings it up. It's 34-25, time remaining in the first half. The crowd senses that there's still a long way to go. When the big man comes up and he's fouled by Walker, and that is 3 on Walker against Ferry.
Battle of attrition here with fouls. You know, you mentioned Walker in the great free throw shooting. As a freshman, he made 31 straight. He broke that record this year by hitting 32 straight. So an excellent free throw shooter, but now he's going to sit, and that's really going to hurt PJ, because not only has he been doing a job on the offensive end, he's a very gifted low post defender.
.25, 3.5 minutes remaining. Gay's still looking for his first field goal. He has hit a couple of free throws. Now they switch off, giving them still a different look on defense. Up over the zone from the corner. A three-pointer by Green. It's 11 for the game. It's 36-28. The Hall is back in it.
That was a set play that time, using Ramos for Green to hide behind.
Ferry in low, goes to work. Short on the turnaround. Gaze with the rebound. Lead now to Green with that speed. Snyder awaits him. Green penetrates on the inside. They'll use Katsikas left-handed. He buries it. The three-point shot. Now it'll be a timeout, Duke.
Again, watch this deployment on the press. Nobody guarding the man taking the ball out of bounds.
And they get it back into Ferry's hands.
It's dangerous strategy, but should work with Abdelnaby having about 6-8 inches over Green. Here's the man I think has to do some scoring, is Henderson.
He's only 1 of 4 so far this afternoon. They try somebody else on Ferry. Abdelnaby is down on the inside, and Gaze comes over to help out that time.
See, Ferry's trying to do too much offensively. He's a great player who plays best when he just accepts a role.
Deflected again. It is brutal down on the inside to try and score an easy field goal against Seton Hall. If Duke believed they had beaten the best defense in the Big East last week, they were in for a huge surprise, and they're getting it right now.
Well, you know, two of the great defensive teachers in the game are Bobby Knight from Indiana and, of course, Jerry Tarkanian from UNLV. And this Seton Hall club just took both of those teams right out of their offense. There's my man Henderson. Let's see if he does it.
Won't stay down, and Ramos off with the rebound, and here comes Green. Green looking Gaze. He's there.
Gaze gives a big smile to Green.
Now Duke has missed its last 8 shots.
See,
it's a three-point game. It goes back over to Seton Hall. They could tie it this time with a three-point play, and Danny Ferry looks up at that scoreboard.
Mike Krzyzewski looks down at that bench at Bricky, but Bricky can't go. He's in trouble.
Into Ramos. He'll stay with it. Lost the handle. He normally has terrific hands. Very soft. Lost it. And Snyder will bring it down. Ferry. 21 points with Bricky watching. Suffered an injury on a spectacular collision in the early moments of the game. We'll get a chance to show you that again in the second half.
kicked away.
Good skip pass by Seton Hall with Katsikas out on one wing and Gaze on the other. Very difficult to pack yourself back in defensively because both fellas that can shoot that three-pointer.
Kubek returning. Duke with only 3 field goals against this Seton Hall defense in the last 7.5 minutes. Green, one of the trio of the New York seniors who played at Riverside Church. Gaze coming up, and Snyder off with the long rebound.
Another thing that's good about Seton Hall, a well-coached club, they get back on defense from offense. Very difficult to get an easy break. Duke goes to a little 4 corners. Going to take the last shot here. They're going to have, what, they got about a 6-second differential, so they do have to give up the ball. And I think a wise play by Seton Hall not to go out and make a foolish play defensively. Down to 10 seconds. They got to get moving. Quinn Snyder doesn't realize it.
He was looking at the game clock. Henderson with a miss. Ramos has got it. They've got 5 seconds. Quickly into the hands of Green. Gaze will bring it from outside. Duke led it by 18, and they were feeling very confident. But P.J. Carlissimo's Seton Hall Pirates hustled back in. And our coverage of this NCAA basketball championship will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
In the first half, he all of a sudden sensed that there was no scoring. He was trying to do too much himself. He had a great first half, but he really needs somebody else to take that scoring load. It could come from Bricky. Morton goes right by him.
Morton, who sat out most of the first half because of 3 fouls, puts in the first field goal to start the second half.
Smart.
And they pull to within 2 points. Remember, they were down 18.
That was a smart play by Morton to go right at him.
Ferry coming around the corner, score it, and he'll step up to the free throw line. Ramos staring in disbelief as he has been assessed his second personal.
Ramos, an excellent defender, but that's what's so tough about Danny Ferry. As I said, he has unlimited range with his jump shot. He can go out beyond 3-point. He's very good at that mid-distance jump shot, and then he goes with a pump fake and takes it to the basket. Tough for Ramos.
Billy, when you have a big lead in college basketball and it starts to drain away, do you get scared?
Oh, yeah, particularly a team that's been in this Final Four before, and there's Ramos with a walk. You start looking up at that scoreboard a little bit. And if you're Mike Krzyzewski, you're nervous until you can see somebody else putting some points on the board other than Ferry. Ramos goes out. He's having a nightmare of a game. As I said, did not score against UNLV. Just can't get it in gear.
It'll be the sophomore again, number 32, Anthony Avent, down on the inside. So Ferry, who has carried the load, trying to find some offensive help this time. And it'll be Leitner stepping out. They punch off, turn it over.
Off
and
balance.
Morton pounds it down in the middle. He'll go all the way if he gets a chance. Off balance also. And it's Duke's turn to come back down. Bounce pass to Henderson for the layup.
Nice pass by Quinn Snyder on the 3-on-2 break.
That's where a Morton out of control can hurt you. If he is unable to finish up, it gave Duke an opportunity to come back. That's why they changed the point guard situation at Seton Hall last year.
Green had the good first half, exploding by people. Need to keep that dribble alive there. Good defense by Leitner stepping up there to help out.
And now it's Duke's interior defense does a job, and Green missing the 2. Henderson in a foot race with Walker, and Henderson crashes into one of the assistants over there on the Seton Hall bench.
I like this
Ramos
move.
quickly comes back.
I like this move by P.J. Carlissimo. He probably just had a little talk with Ramos, an all Big East performer who's just not getting it done in a slight slump. He's made a defensive switch here, which should help Ramos, putting Walker on Ferry. Let Ramos play Leitner.
Leitner bulls his way in and scores his first field goal of the second half. A total of 7 points for Leighton.
Might have got by with an offensive foul there because Walker's defensive position was excellent.
It's us.
Through Ramos and over to the Blue Devils, who are working on a 10-point lead right now, 45-35.
Brent, one of the things that both teams are trying to do is feed the post straight on. They'd be much better if they'd swing the ball and get a little angle on into Ramos. Let's see if Bricky can explode with the drive. He hasn't shown it yet. It's like he's playing a little gimpy.
Ferry is off of Walker short with the shot, and Ramos there for the rebound. Morton puts it down, had Walker open, didn't get to him, comes up though and hits his own jump shot. 2 field goals at both in the second half.
At 27 against Syracuse in the Big East final, Morton can explode.
Henderson, Gaze with a hand on it and controls it. Lead now to Morton. 3 field goals for John Morton in the second half.
Henderson having a hard time getting off a good shot on Morton.
Gaze taking Bricky. Snyder cut off. Now he'll punch into Ferry. Ferry coming up. Walker not wanting to foul. Backs off. And Duke gets it as Henderson dug it out.
Good rebounding by the guard.
Misfiring. Seton Hall's ball.
Brent, I sense that Duke has got to, in the next minute or so, get some scoring from somebody. Let's see if Bricky can run. He really can't. You notice that? He cannot run.
He had to stop.
Yep.
And come back.
Now what Seton Hall should do is recognize that and get Gaze with the ball in his hand and beat Bricky one-on-one, because Bricky just can't run.
Leitner, and that's his 4th personal foul.
Foul is charged to number 32, Christian Leitner.
Abdel Nabi will replace him, and he comes into the game with 3.
Number 30, Abdel Nabi replaces Leitner.
Mike Krzyzewski can still go to Buckley and Palmer. He's got size down there, but not experience in a game like this one.
Here's Gaze, Bricky taking him, and on the punch in, another foul, and this one on Abdel Nabi, his 4th.
Foul is charged to
There was
30,
the angle I was talking about, hitting the low post.
It's
been tough feeding a man straight on, but you get that angle, like that 45-degree angle, a guy like Ramos can put a man on his hip.
Walker steps inside of Abdel Nabi that time, who did not want to reach in and risk his 5th personal, and it's 12 points for Walker. One of those underrated guys down on the inside who can do a lot of the little things, a lot of the dirty work. Snyder hoists a 3. Off into Green's hands, and Snyder is called for the foul, his 3rd. Krzyzewski can't believe it.
Snyder still without a field goal. A lot of pressure on this young man coming back home to play here. He's the native of the Seattle area and just not getting it going offensively.
Duke has led it all the way, but things are not going their way. Morton missing, but Gaze was there.
Perfect pass.
And now Bricky is back down on the court again.
Brent, he's not going to be able to make it.
For Seton Hall, Michael Cooper, 31, returns to the lineup. For Duke, number 22, Greg Kuba.
It's a big blow for Duke University because they lose a guy who is a potential finisher on the break. And now the scoring has to come from Henderson to help Danny Ferry.
Ramos working away on Ferry on the inside. Denied the pass. John Smith will try it from the perimeter. He is short. Rebound by Seton Hall. Michael Cooper yanked it away.
You can sense Seton Hall starting to pick up a lot of confidence in this run right now. They have not had the lead the entire game, but you sense they see that Duke is struggling offensively. And if you're Seton Hall, they should be helping out even more on Danny Ferry now, because you know that he's going to try to take it over.
Walker
basket by number 24, Darrell Walker.
Duke has hit only one of its last 6 shots. Henderson. Cooper is there. The Hall can tie or take the lead. Batted back, Duke's ball. Lead Ferry. 26.
But Brent, you notice that their baskets are not coming within their offense.
Inside again, put it down.
And Seton Hall's baskets are.
Smith's first personal foul.
Clay Buckley into the ball game now for Duke. His father Jay played in the Final Four. So Mike really having to go down this bench.
Basket by
Got
Darrell Walker.
Al-Nabi with what, 4? He's got Leitner in trouble with fouls.
Foul on John Smith.
Buckley is
His first
6'10",
team's
the
fourth.
sophomore out of Wayne, Pennsylvania.
One shot.
Hitting the free throw, and it's a 1-point lead. We'll take a timeout and come right back. With Billy Packer, I'm Brent Musburger from the Kingdome in Seattle. Seton Hall has pulled to within 1. That's the closest we've been since Duke scored the first point on a free throw, and timeout is called by Duke.
Brent, the press is really effective by not guarding the man taking the ball out of bounds.
A 13-4 run over the last 3.5 minutes by Seton Hall. They trail it by a point and applying the pressure. Snyder, who still is looking for his first point in this game, bringing the ball up now for the Blue Devils, who have Ferry, Kubek, Buckley, and Henderson, number 3. They apparently have lost Bricky for perhaps the rest of the afternoon after suffering that leg injury in the first half. He tried here in the second half and couldn't go. Seton Hall digging back in. Henderson squeezing the trigger. And now the Hall can take the lead. Green on the bounce pass to Cooper. And it goes over.
Brent, you can see that Seton Hall has taken Duke out of their offense completely.
The basket counts. Seton Hall leads. Foul against Seton Hall. It's 50-49.
Well, they battled back 19 points from being down by 18 at one point. Here's the fast break coming out. Good job by Cooper taking it right to the hoop. Kubek's waiting for him. One of the things Duke could do right here against this particular press is let somebody other than Danny Ferry take the ball out of bounds so that he could be the recipient of the pass by throwing over the head of a guy like Green, who's much smaller.
First lead by Seton Hall in the game. Ferry can't get it back. Ramos yanks it away, and he is fouled by Buckley.
As much as Mike Krzyzewski doesn't want to do it this early, I think he's got to come back with Christian Leitner to get himself another score in the game. Buckley not going to score. Kubek not going to score. Snyder hasn't shown that he can, and Henderson having the cold hand. Great comeback by Seton Hall.
In low to Ramos. And he turned it over.
Ramos can't believe it because he's normally pretty steady on the inside. But here's an example. See, Danny Ferry's taking the ball out of bounds. They could throw over him.
Bounce pass by Snyder is a beauty, and Henderson finishes. 13 for the game with Leitner watching. Duke leading now 51-50. 13-20 in regulation. Punch in. Ferry tries to save it, throws deep, and Ramos off his hand. And they give it up. Quinn Snyder scores off the turnover.
Boy, Danny Ferry made the great play by throwing it towards his end of the court, therefore not giving Seton Hall a chance to capitalize.
Ramos wants it low. Ferry to help out, stayed with it defensively. Walker's got it back, cleans up. That's his strength. Marvelous offensive rebounder.
Now, Gaze is not getting enough credit for his defense in this game. He's shutting Henderson down pretty well.
Gaze without a lot of speed, great position defender. Ferry will get this one to fall. That's 28 points for Ferry with Mickey Krzyzewski watching the Duke Blue Devils here from the Kingdome this afternoon. Gaze hoists a three from down under.
Henderson tried to help out. Gaze too dangerous a shooter to allow to go inside. You turn your back and he'll drill it.
Duke 55, Seton Hall 55. Here's Snyder. His three still not there. And there's a push on the inside against Duke. Henderson's second.
Another thing I've noticed the last time or two down the floor, Danny Ferry very, very tired. He has not come out of this game yet. You can see him going over on the sidelines. He needs a blow.
For Duke, Christian Leitner and John Smith return to the lineup.
Leitner and Smith both check back in. Avent back for Seton Hall. Cooper is on the floor. France Volsi, number 30. Also there, great pass to Avent.
Back screen beautifully set by Gaze.
Seton Hall leading it by 2. They punch to Ferry, and great defense on the inside. Gaze off the spin, gets it to Avent again. It's a 4-point lead by the Pirates.
And here you can see Volsi, who is very rested, playing Danny Ferry, giving him all kinds of trouble.
Leitner.
Basket by number 32.
Back to 2. Inside to Cooper. 61-57. Seton Hall leading Duke. Ferry's outside. Henderson short. Gaze was there again defensively. Green tries to save it, stepped out of bounds.
But a brilliant play by Green, though. If he throws the ball back in, he knew that there's a chance Duke could get it right under their own basket. Better off taking it out with him.
P.J. Carlissimo's team on a tear. Seton Hall has hit 12 of its last 14 shots, and Snyder got it up high on the glass and couldn't get it to fall. Drawing the foul this time. That's Volsi's second.
Foul is charged to number 30, Franz Volsi. His second, team's third.
Quinn Snyder had this second opportunity he had to put back a relatively easy one. Didn't hit either.
Ferry's three. Off to the side. Seton Hall comes back.
Duke completely out of their offensive pattern right now, trying to do it all one-on-one.
Now they're down by 6. We've got a timeout called by the Blue Devils. This half, Duke is shooting 41%, and Seton Hall has elevated its game. 78% the Pirates are shooting here against the Blue Devils. And the struggle continues. They get it in, or at least try, and Ferry forced out to the perimeter. Nothing working down on the inside. Now they hit Leitner. He goes hard and drew the foul.
This is a good move by Mike Krzyzewski. He's got to figure out that second score. It may be Leitner because he hasn't been able to get it on the perimeter. And what also will help by going to Leitner is it keeps that weak side defender from double teaming Danny Ferry. But you got to like PJ's situation right now because he's being able to rest both Morton and Walker on the sidelines.
Watching from the sideline, several of the Michigan Wolverines. They'll be out here next against Illinois. Walker returning. He's played a solid game here this afternoon. And sitting down with the 3 fouls, Volsi.
Nice piece of substitution by P.J. Carlissimo. All he needs is a couple of minutes out of those subs. He's much more rested with his key people than is Duke.
63-59. Walker takes Duke down in low, and then the tap back. And that was Avent again.
Number 32, Anthony Avent.
Good help by Cooper on Ferry.
Davis, Kubek at the perimeter, in low to Leitner, and the freshman starting to pick up the load. That's 13 points. It's a 4-point lead by Seton Hall. 9.5 minutes to go in regulation. Green continues on in. Leitner was there, and he is fouled out of the game.
Oh, that was
I thought he had the ball.
Block. Yeah, right on top of it. And this really causes problems for Mike Krzyzewski, because just when he was getting the secondary score, he loses him on fouls. Watch this play right here. I thought he had all ball on this one. All ball. And Christian Leitner felt likewise.
Smith.
For Duke, number 33, John
Off
Smith,
the Duke
replaces
bench.
Christian Leitner.
Now they have 4 perimeter players and Ferry on the floor.
For Seton Hall, Gerald Green shooting 2.
Green has been the one man that's been the difference as far as getting Seton Hall back into their offense. Even when they were behind, he stayed with it.
Well, he was one of the big differences in PJ's recruiting, too, in that Riverside Church League, which has about 15 or 16 graduates now playing in the NBA, when he was able to convince this young man to come to Seton Hall. And then he was able to get Morton and Walker to join him. And he had coached down in Puerto Rico. He knew about Ramos. Gaze had lit up the Big East All-Star team, so he was able to recruit him for a year. Now it's Snyder hoisting a 3 in and out. Walker with the rebound, and Seton Hall is solidly in command of this game. It is 67-61, and you can feel it.
Snyder without a field goal.
Gaze down under again.
Well, he can shoot that three-pointer without his legs being in good position, which is hard to do. Duke really panicked right now. You can see it in their eyes.
Snyder again, and this time he finds the range from three-point land. 5 points total, all 5 in the second half, keeping Duke within 6 points. It'll be Gaze again.
Oh!
Well, they don't have Larry Bird in Australia, but Gaze will do down there, won't he?
Remember a name like Oscar, Brent? That's what those guys can do from the outside to get that three-point swing going.
Avent fouling Ferry. Avent's first.
Gaze has done the job all year long from the outside as a perimeter shooter, but today I think he's done a great job defensively as well.
Bricky will try it again.
And John Smith.
Injured his leg early in the game. Stayed in, was forced out, finished a half on the bench as Ramos checks back in for Seton Hall. Green is also out, along with Avent.
Again, pulling all the right buttons is P.J. Carlesimo. He takes Green out of the game at a time when if he can get 3 minutes out of Pookie Wigginton, allows Green to come back fresh for the stretch run.
All 5'4" of Pookie Wigginton bringing the ball up now. He was some player in the JC League in California. He's had some problems with a knee. Gets it back from Ramos. Snyder not so used to looking down defensively.
I think that Ramos can score on John Smith on the inside.
Smith trying to stay with it. Ramos and Wigginton are there defensively. Smith waits for help. And they hit Henderson on a flash. And Gaze was there, off into Wigginton's hands. 73-65. Seton Hall, 7.5 minutes left in regulation.
Gaze just doing the job on Henderson. Henderson cannot get off the shot down inside. Even though he's an outstanding leaper, Gaze's timing has been perfect on the defensive end.
Snyder is called for the moving foul, his 4th.
Now there's a case where you know Wigginton is not going to be a threat to score that far out. Quinn Snyder just has to play him solid. No reason to try to draw the charge out there.
Number 22, Greg Kuban, replaces Quinn Snyder.
A good team for Seton Hall to press right now with Snyder out of the game. Smallest player in Division I basketball is Wigginton.
On the floor for the Blue Devils, Ricky, Henderson, Ferry, Smith, and Kubek. And Cooper gets it back into Wigginton's hands.
Days was ready, wasn't he?
He sure was. He was thinking about it.
Illegal screen on Cooper.
His 3rd personal.
Foul is charged to number 31, Michael Cooper, his 3rd personal foul, team's 6th.
(73-65). Seton Hall leading.
Now Henderson has a much smaller man on him. See if he tries to go over Wigginton.
Smith on the inside. It's blocked. Out of bounds, Duke ball.
I think Duke would be smart to get Henderson down in low with Wigginton. He can shoot over him.
Henderson 4 of 15 here this afternoon.
Just keep your hands off each other.
Not going to have a chance because here comes Green in. P.J. Carlesmo right on top of that move.
Kubek
got hit on the arm. No call.
Seton Hall's ball.
Special setup play now. High double poach. You notice Seton Hall is bringing their offense out a little higher.
And a foul against Henderson.
This is not a delay game, but it brings the defense out higher, and you're going to get some backdoor cuts from Seton Hall right now.
Quinn Snyder, number 14, returns to the lineup, replacing Greg
Snyder returns, and Kubek sits down.
Brent, we talked about Duke being to the Final Four 7 times. First time they were there was 64. Went up against John Wooden in 64 when Wooden won his first national championship, and it followed. It was 63, 64, 66, 78, 86, 88, and 89. They could be the bridesmaid of all time. And a good free throw shooting team is Seton Hall.
Hayes sits down to a round of applause.
Well, the MVP of the West Regional had an outstanding game today, and give him some accolades for the defensive work he did on Henderson.
Seton Hall is now 14 of 16 from that free throw line.
You get a situation where the clock is now becoming Duke's opponent, where they've got to be thinking 3.
Ferry.
There's a push by Smith, not called.
Seton Hall getting another break.
And Brent, Danny Ferry will not be able to post up down low and get those moves because Seton Hall is bringing people from the weak side over to stop that play.
We have had a 28-point swing in this game, from 18 down to 10 up by Seton Hall. One of the more impressive comebacks in the history of the Final Four. Where you look like you're dead in the water. Seton Hall pulled themselves together and has made a remarkable run in this game.
Well, I think the key was Bricky going down. Duke was then without a scorer, and the only way they stayed in the game was a sensational first half by Ferry. Good spacing now by Seton Hall, bringing that offense out higher. They're going to get an easy one. There it is.
Ramos right there.
What's happening is Duke trying to overplay, and there's a lot of space underneath the basket.
Snyder's 3.
2 in a row for Quinn Snyder.
kind of firepower they're going to need here. It's 77-68, just inside of 5.5 minutes to work with. Gaze
nice
to return
move.
soon as Morton got it inside to Ramos again, and he'll stay with it.
Basket by 25, Ramon Ramos.
Ricky showing a lot of courage playing out here on that one leg, but just nowhere near the quick Ricky we know of.
Knocked away, they've stripped it.
And again, weak side defense, that offensive maneuver is not going to be there.
Ferry jumping out commits the personal, his second.
Foul is charged to number 35, Danny Ferry, his second personal foul. For Duke, number 22, Greg Kubek. Number 30, Alan
Gaze's father is the John Wooden of Australia. He is the gentleman there with the gray hair on the right. His name is Lindsay Gaze. He coaches a team down in Australia, and it's a team without a star. And that's his son. He badly wants this season to end so he can get his son back home down under. This has been a tremendous learning experience for Andrew Gaze. He was talking about it yesterday, given an opportunity to play 1 year in the United States.
And Brent, being 24 years of age, I don't even think Seton Hall will be applying for him to go ahead and get that other year. He still would have the opportunity to apply for another year of eligibility, but it looks like he is going to go back to Australia and continue to play for their national team.
You folks down in Australia should know that his nickname is Jacks, as in Hungry Jacks. For those of you in the U.S., that's the McDonald's of Australia. Here's Ferry gliding in, missing, rebound, Ramos. And Duke battles to save it, but they have stepped out of bounds at the end line. I believe that's Davis who went flying in there. Yes, it is.
With this lead, PJ's going to want to start using that clock just a little bit.
Does it sound funny to anybody else to say Seton Hall is going to play for a national championship? What a tremendous story this is, and they're now within 4 minutes and 25 seconds of moving to Monday night. And they did it the old-fashioned way here this afternoon. Nothing but hard work. There wasn't anything easy about what this team has accomplished here today. Morton.
Basket by number 23, John Morton.
Brent, this team has had a great basketball tradition in the past with the Wanzers and the Bobby Davies, some of the great guard play of all time, Honey Russell, the great club that they took and won the NIT championship with. Back in those days, that was considered the equivalent, if not even more, than the NCAA.
Now, even though they play their home games in the Big East and the Meadowlands, the school is not located in a swamp, folks. Seton Hall is located in South Orange, New Jersey. That's a suburb of Newark. It was created in 1856, and it was named after the first American saint, St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. And she's got to be very proud what the Pirates are accomplishing here this afternoon. Ramos battling for that rebound. You're not going to get it away from him.
They've got 10 seconds to get it up over. They are now very close, almost. They have to get the ball over half court here. It's at 35. It should be Duke's ball because it's been 10 seconds. They never got it over half court. We're going to send a man along. Danny Ferry back here. Safety. They've got to get it over half court.
Green gets it up.
Too quick for Kubek. Again, watch where Seton Hall sets up. Everybody above that foul line looking for the spacing down inside.
Blocking foul on Snyder, and Snyder is gone.
Foul is charged.
Well, we remember that scene when he fouled out the Georgetown game and pulled everybody over together, and part of his conversation was win one for me, but At this point, Brent, I don't think that's a possibility with just 3:39 to go. And with the club that Duke has on the floor against the Morton and Green backcourt, it'd be very difficult to press.
Number 23, John Morton, shooting.
Somewhere, there are a couple of very embarrassed former members of the Student Senate who once called for P.J. Carlissimo's scalp.
Once called, it was less than 2 seasons ago. We're talking about midway through last season, where P.J. then eventually led them to their first NCAA bid, and of course this year they have them in the final and championship game.
85-68. Seton Hall leading. They were down by 18 in the first half. Smith is fouled. Very disappointed parents there. That's Quinn Snyder's father in the glasses and his mother right next to him. The young man who had a great high school career. He's a tremendous student at Duke. His grade point average is about 3.3. Those are numbers I can't identify with. I'm sure some of the audience can.
Here's Danny Ferry's roommate. They've had excellent careers, 3 Final Fours, but not one time are they going to come home with that championship.
This will probably be the most disappointing of the failures. You lead it by 18 in the first half, and you've got everything going your way, and suddenly the plug was pulled for Mike Krzyzewski.
Well, I really think that Bricky not being available took away one of the big weapons that Mike Krzyzewski would have to use. Just could not get any more scoring. And that's not to make an excuse for Duke, because Seton Hall has played a great game, particularly on the defensive end of the floor.
Well, for the first 8 minutes, they played a horrible game. Shooting, if you will. They couldn't bury anything, and then they've turned it around. That great interior defense, and whoever they draw on Monday night, best be ready.
Keep it up. Keep it up. Stop.
Well, it's a team that we all talked about with basically 5 seniors when you consider Gaze's great international experience. So it's a club that even down 18 knows that they've been there before. They've played against great competition, have not lost a game against a team outside the Big East all this year. Started off the season winning the Great Alaskan Shootout. Club that's beaten Georgetown 3 times in the last 2 years.
And you know what makes them happier than anything in the world?
They won't have to play Syracuse on Monday night. Syracuse is their Achilles heel, folks. They haven't beaten the Orangemen in the Big East since 1981, and now the chant begins. Seton Hall.
Brent, you know, when you start talking about streaks this team had, I think one of the great ones is this year they beat St. John's over at St. John's, the first time since 1913. I mean, that's a streak.
This team has captured the imagination of the New York metropolitan area the last couple of weeks with their great play. Ferry on a spinner. Smith will try to come back, knocked away, and there on the end line, he was out of bounds. Duke's ball.
Again, Danny Ferry trying to use that reverse dribble, only when he beats his man, he runs right into the weak side defense, making the shot very tough.
Folsey fouled. This is what has happened down the stretch in terms of field goals allowed by this defense. Why we've been raving about it all day long. Now, here this afternoon against Duke. Only 2 field goals in the last 7 minutes.
The other thing that's impressive is that they do it by taking a team out of their offense completely. You notice that Duke, midway through this second half, started to go completely one-on-one. It was the only way they could get a shot off.
Ferry hoists a 3 in, and he has scored 32 points in what could be his last college basketball game.
That reminded me of the shot that Sean Elliott hit to beat Duke in the Meadowlands this year.
Reach-in foul by Davis on Morton. 2:23. Rather handily twice this year, but it may not matter here this afternoon if Glenn Rice continues to scorch the net the way he did coming out of that southeastern region. That'll be the second game of the national final.
You know, Brennan, in a great accomplishment by Dave Gavitt and what he's done in putting together this Big East, Seton Hall becomes the 6th team in that league in the 10-year history to make it to the Final Four. So great balance from top to bottom.
Kubek. Ferry stays with it, pulls his way around, and this time Smith coming up, and the foul is called on Volsey. That's his 4th.
See the great effort by Danny Ferry trying to do everything he can to stay in this game, but I think they've known for a good 5 or 6 minutes here that this game was going to Seton Hall. Great career.
John Smith shoots 2.
Lead by 18 and now trail by 17. They were hit by a steamroller here this afternoon.
Ferry, the only player in ACC conference history which has got a storied past with 2,000 points, over 900 rebounds, 450 assists. He's had a great career and put on an All-American performance here today, but they didn't get any help from scoring from anybody else. Somebody wide open, Gaze, but nobody sees him yet. There he is.
A little frosting inside the 2-minute mark. They'll bring down the final seconds on the clock, and Seton Hall will head toward Monday night. Ferry, though, still battling away as the foul is called on Morton. The Danny Ferry era at Duke, one of only 4 players to have his number retired. The 3rd time he's been in the Final Four in 4 years. Now keep in mind that in each of those appearances, his last loss was to the team that won the national championship. They were beaten in that final game as a freshman by Louisville. Then the next year they were picked off by Indiana, and the Hoosiers won the national championship. A year ago, Mike Krzyzewski lost to Kansas. So what a great omen that might be for Seton Hall. Foul goes against Duke. Kubek. Minute and a half to go.
You know, Brent, I think back, and I talked about the history of Seton Hall basketball, the great Honey Russell teams. That club that he had was undefeated and #1 ranked in the nation until they lost 2 straight games. Opt to go to the NIT instead of the NCAA. They won the NIT championship. Indiana that year won the NCAA championship. It'd be hard to believe now that a vote would be cast by players to say, let's play in the NIT instead, huh? Avan, who had a great game off the bench again. And that man who just reached over to cheer, PJ Carlissimo, is having some tournament as a coach. He is pulling all the right wires.
And he pulls them himself. He's not a board of directors coach. He kneels down in front of that bench and he understands what's happening every minute. Ferry gets it back. Continuing to battle away in a lost cause. Taps one in. That's why he still has a great basketball future ahead of him. And a timeout has been called here by Seton Hall. 1:15 to go. Ramos, the veteran, says, let's talk about how we're going to run this clock out. Blazing away at 75% in the second half. Hayes was open there, but they want to run down the clock a little bit, so they'll take a few more seconds off of it.
Tough to press 5 seniors. All of which can catch the ball very nicely. And these are fellas that when they were freshmen, they were the doormats of the Big East League, so they know what it's been like to be down.
Gaze is 3.
He'd been waiting there, Brent, for what seemed like half a lifetime.
Davis steps inside Gaze and was fouled by him with 22 seconds to go.
Foul is charged to number 10, Andrew Gaze, his second personal foul.
And now they'll clear the bench. A photo to take back home down under. We'll get another opportunity to broadcast to Australia live on Monday night.
Well, what do you think? They'd rather watch Greg Norman win the Masters, Gaze hit a three-pointer, or return the America's Cup? Which one do you think they'd watch?
I'd rather have somebody come along and win Wimbledon again.
Wimbledon?
Just kidding.
Well, at least this is a first for them. They're moving in on another sport. They've won Wimbledon before. That went off Henderson's foot. Mike Krzyzewski merely throws the ball away. It's been a long afternoon, at least since about that 10-minute mark in that first half.
Isn't that great for some of these subs who don't see much playing time to say that they got into a Final Four, that we were out there on the floor like Trevor Crowley. There he is breaking deep, and they hit him on a pass. Oh, would he love to have a field goal, but Duke would not give it to him that easily as Crawford Palmer, the freshman from Arlington, knocked it away. Has a quick coaching over there on the far side.
You know, wasn't it nice and refreshing to see PJ was out here about an hour before the game talking to people? I mean, not uptight at all. He's really got his head on straight.
Seton Hall heads to the championship game with a dramatic comeback, putting away Duke 95-78. Seton Hall will take on the winner of Game 2, Illinois or Michigan. We'll talk to some of the heroes in a moment.